So they, out of nowhere, they just suddenly could have a document that our grandparents could buy these houses and these lands.
As we all know, every year, almost every year, the Israelis will attack Palestine during the 10 days of Ramadan, the last 10 days of Ramadan. And this year, it started in Sheikh Jarrah. So we will be very happy if you can explain to us what actually going on in Sheikh Jarrah, which ended and follow up by whatever happened in Masjid Al-Aqsa. So Leen, please share with us what is happening.
So please, hi again, welcome everyone. I would like everyone to focus here with me because I will be mentioning some quite a lot of numbers that we need to have in mind in order to understand what's happening in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood that arises now. Actually, we got the idea now, and all the media streaming online and the social media talking about Sheikh Jarrah because of two activists who are the resident of Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, Muna al-Kurd and Muhammad al-Kurd. They live there and they have social media platforms, obviously, so they could share their stories to everyone. That's why people are listening and trying to help them out, despite that Palestinians inside Palestine are fully aware of what's happening there. Coming back to Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, we all know that the catastrophe, the Nakba, the first ethnic cleansing that happened to Palestinians was in 1948. So in 1948, many people who live in north of Palestine, they move either to outside, like to neighborhoods, countries, or they move to different cities, which is Gaza, Jerusalem, Al-Quds, Hebron, and so on. So people who live in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, mostly authentic residents in other Palestinian cities, they moved to Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood after the catastrophe in 1948. That's the first point to mention. Later on, the next war that happened was 6 Days War in 1967. We call it a Naksa. And in this war, Israel was trying to take over the Jerusalem, Al-Quds, and they made it. They could divided Al-Quds into two parts, east and west. Officially, supposedly, Israel has authority and they rule over the west side. The east side is supposed to be under the Palestinians' authority, but still, Israeli settlements, which are almost, we have almost 200,000 settlers living in the east side of Jerusalem, which is supposed to be for Palestinians and Palestinian authorities, and that's been a very long problem that we've been facing since 1967 for sure. So when we talk about Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, as we mentioned, accordingly, in 1948 was the first move of Palestinian families to this neighborhood. Then in 1967, the conflict happened again in Jerusalem, and the focus was in Jerusalem. So you can tell the problems that all Jerusalem citizens are facing. Later on, there's one main point I didn't mention. The Jordanian government, actually, they bought and they rent the houses in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in 1948 for the Palestinian citizens who couldn't make it out of Palestine. So it's officially for the Palestinian citizens, and they do have the documents to prove this. So I am a citizen of this neighborhood since 73 years. Let's keep this in mind.
Mashallah.
Coming back to the next event, which happened in 1972, when the Israelis, the settlers, they start claiming officially with their own documents that they owe the houses since 1885. So they, out of nowhere, they just suddenly could have a document that our grandparents could buy these houses and these lands, and we do have the documents. Even before the catastrophe, even before the Nakba, they claim they do have it. And imagine here, everyone, that if you're dealing with the court, with the lawyer, with an officer, which are all Zionists, they're all settlers and illegal settlers, and you're asking them to prove that your documents are real, and they have a fake documents which they are claiming it's real, and they've been delaying the courts and the statements for so long, just to make people lose hope in this case. So that's what was happening. So Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood's event, it's been there for 49 years actually, and many issues were happening, but the media didn't shed light on that. Even people were not aware because we mostly focus on Gaza and what's happening in Al-Aqsa and so on. But for now, what's happening in Palestine, basically, the flame or the spark for everything that is happening now, even in Gaza, actually started from Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, because people are threatened now. Like, they are literally threatened to be displaced and forced to leave their homes. It's forced displacement, and it's another ethnic cleansing that it's always been happening in West Bank, in Jerusalem, for no reason. And let's mention one thing. Remember that Jerusalem has east and west side. In the east side, any settler who is living there, any settlement, it's totally illegal under the international law, since it's under the Palestinian Authority. But Israel kept doing this, and there is no official let's say punishment that's going on, or there's no no one is questioning why they're doing this actions. So having this, what it was happening even before Ramadan, as I told you, but people shed light on the story during Ramadan. Beside what was happening in Damascus Gate, Damascus Gate is near Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. Imagine having Al-Aqsa here in the middle, then you have the Damascus Gate, the old city of Jerusalem, and Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. It's all a connected area in Jerusalem city, the capital of Palestine. You could imagine with me how is the sequence and how is the geography of the area. So they wanted to take over Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, so it's easy for them to take over the entrance to the old city, and therefore the entrance to Al-Aqsa Mosque in the east side of Jerusalem. They already have the west side, they want to take over the east side, so they're tackling the entrance, the main entrance for Palestinian to go through their own land, supposedly under the international law, okay? Not talking about the historical Palestine, which is officially our homeland from north to south. All right. So that's it for Sheikh Jarrah and Damascus Gate in Jerusalem city. It's always happening in Ramadan. Therefore, the thing that was special this year, different events took place in only couple of days or couple of weeks. It's called Jerusalem Day. They call it Jerusalem Day. We don't celebrate this day. Jerusalem Day, basically, the settlers, thousands of settlers and Israel forces and police protecting them, they go to invade. I'm saying the word invade because they literally do invade Masjid al-Aqsa to celebrate Jerusalem Day, claiming that they already have a part of Jerusalem and they will be taking a bigger part of Jerusalem, so Jerusalem will be their own capital. And let's mention something very important here. Israel is not officially authorized or can claim that it's a real state if not having Jerusalem, full Jerusalem, under its occupation. That's why they keep on claiming the deal of the century. If you remember, that happened in 2018, was actually a big movement for them in order to reach that point, despite they always keep talking about two-state solution, which actually Israel doesn't really want to have this two-state solution, because what we see Israel is doing is against this two-state solutions. They don't want to live with Palestinians. They don't want Palestinians to have half of Jerusalem under their authority. So basically, they really aiming to take over the full city of Jerusalem, the capital of Palestine. Al-Aqsa attack that happened, if you remember the very last days of Ramadan, it was because of Jerusalem Day. Al-Aqsa people, they were trying to stay there, do i'tikaf, sleep over, and to protect Al-Aqsa, because they know Jerusalem Day is going to be there in 10th of May. And Israel has a big plan to allow 30,000 settlers, extreme terrorists and Zionist people, to go to Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's why they were trying to take over Sheikh Jarrah and Damascus Gate earlier, before that Jerusalem Day. And Palestinians, they keep resisting to set that free. In Damascus Gate, they try their best to remove all the checkpoints. In Sheikh Jarrah, they keep on protesting every single day to make it harder for them to do this celebration in Jerusalem Day, 10th of May. So in 10th of May, Palestinians, citizens of Jerusalem, they were by their own self resisting a very big army and settlers defending Al-Aqsa literally with their bodies and a stone. Israel came into the masjid, into the surah, which is a very holy place. Despite their religion, we need to respect each other's ceremonies and tradition and religious. They went inside, people were praying, and they threw bombs into the people who are praying, and they were attacking them. And it was filmed. That's was happening in Al-Aqsa. And that made all people in Palestine, in historical Palestine, North Israel, in the West Bank, in Gaza, protesting, and people all over the world to protest in support of Al-Aqsa despite their religion. Even Christian were doing. So that what made the attacks in Gaza and the war in Gaza happening in the first place. It's the first time for Gaza actually to have this kind of war in support of Jerusalem city. So we
I
need to have
see.
this link together that what's happening now in Gaza is because of what happened in Jerusalem and in Al-Aqsa specifically and Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood.